At 99 years old, Mel Brooks isn't holding back anymore, and his latest honesty landed in Hollywood like a shockwave. The legendary mind behind Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein finally opened up about the actors he flat out refused to work with. No filters, no sugarcoating, just decades of memories spilling out loud. One name stood out fast: Jerry Lewis. Behind closed doors, Brooks described Lewis as brilliant, exhausting, and impossible, and that mix said everything. He respected the talent, the wild creativity, the impact Lewis had on comedy history, but respect for the work didn't mean liking the process or the person behind it. Things really hit a wall in the mid-1980s during early planning for Life Stinks, a sharp satire about a billionaire forced to live on the streets. When studio executives floated Lewis as a major supporting actor, saying his name would raise the profile, Brooks shut it down immediately. He reportedly told a producer, "I don't need someone who thinks he's funnier than the movie," and that was that. Brooks knew Lewis's reputation all too well. Lewis was famous for rewriting scenes on the spot, pushing back on direction, and overpowering rooms with non-stop energy. Brooks thrived on controlled chaos, but he never gave up creative control. To him, their styles were guaranteed to clash, and not in a good way. Brooks protected his creative space fiercely, from the editing room to the soundstage to the precise timing of every joke. They only met once, at a dinner set up by a mutual friend. Brooks showed up open-minded, willing to see if something could work. Lewis arrived late, launched into a long speech about the future of American comedy, and barely acknowledged Brooks at all. Brooks listened, stayed polite, then left early. No argument, no blow-up, just a quiet decision made on the spot. Later, Brooks summed it up simply: "I wanted applause after that night," and he never revisited the idea. Publicly, Brooks never criticized Lewis, and Lewis rarely mentioned Brooks either. But insiders knew the truth. There was no warmth, no regret, no sense of missed opportunity. As Brooks once joked to a friend, "If someone thinks they're the center of the universe, they can't live in mine. I already have a son." That line said it all. Brooks built comedy like architecture: ensemble first, structure before chaos, rhythm over ego. Stars could shine, but only if they respected the bigger picture. Lewis couldn't do that, not because he lacked talent, but because his approach would have turned the production upside down. Explosions of temper, power struggles, endless back and forth that drained the energy from everyone in the room. For Mel Brooks, that chaos was a deal breaker. Too loud, too overwhelming, and far too late in the game to expect change. The truth is simple. There was never a scene written for Jerry Lewis. No approach, no phone call, not even a test conversation. Just distant respect for a comic icon who made millions laugh, but couldn't function inside Brooks' tightly balanced creative world. In Brooks' universe, even genius had limits. Talent alone never guaranteed entry. What mattered was trust, timing, humility, and the ability to serve the story instead of trying to dominate it. Some actors were passed over because they lacked skill. Others, like Lewis, overflowed with talent. What they lacked was the one trait Brooks valued most: restraint. Brooks demanded actors who could play fully and selflessly within the rhythm of comedy, and no partnership ever cut deeper than the quiet unraveling of his bond with Gene Wilder. Wilder wasn't just another performer drifting through Brooks's orbit. He was his creative equal, his partner in reinvention, his comedic mirror. Together, they didn't just make movies, they shattered expectations. Blazing Saddles, Young Frankenstein. These weren't ordinary hits. They were cultural earthquakes. Wicked, daring, and stitched together by Wilder's fragile sincerity and razor-sharp timing. Wilder brought emotional electricity to Brooks' controlled chaos, turning wild ideas into lasting magic. But after Young Frankenstein, The ground between them began to shift. Wilder poured everything into that film, shaping the script, steadying the tone, protecting its heart. Brooks fought just as hard, insisting it remain black and white, insisting it stay true to their shared instincts. They created something immortal, yet beneath the applause, cracks quietly formed. Wilder came forward with a new script, The Adventure of Sherlock Holmes's Smarter Brother. He wrote it, believed in it, and hoped Brooks would produce it. Brooks declined, not out of bitterness, and not from lack of faith. Gene just wasn't ready to direct. I knew he wasn't, Brooks later explained. But Wilder didn't hear caution. He heard rejection. He wanted partnership, mentorship, a continuation of what they'd built together. Instead, he felt a door slowly close. Wilder made the movie anyway. Familiar faces appeared, but the old spark was gone. The warmth cooled. The rhythm felt off. What once flowed effortlessly now felt forced, like a constellation pulled apart by time. They drifted away quietly. No public feuds, no interviews tearing each other down, just silence. Two creative giants walking parallel paths that no longer crossed. Brooks once confided to a friend, "It was like watching your brother pack his bags and leave home. Only he left carrying your best punchline." In Brooks' fiercely loyal world, that absence never fully healed. And when fate finally put them in the same room again, it wasn't planned. It was accidental. There was no grand reunion, no emotional reset, just a handshake, a few soft jokes, and the thaw of something that had once been frozen solid. A fragile reconnection, yes, but never a full restoration. The trust that defined the golden era between Mel Brooks and Gene Wilder stayed fractured. Brooks had once relied on Wilder to complete his thoughts before they were even spoken. Wilder instinctively elevated scenes, shaping ideas before they fully formed. That sacred creative loop was rare, and once it closed after The Adventure of Sherlock Holmes' Smarter Brother, it never reopened. Wilder moved on, and Brooks, fiercely protective of his creative circle, never allowed himself to lose the same partner twice. As the years rolled on, another name kept resurfacing through the 1980s and into the early 1990s, Chevy Chase. Studios pushed hard. They wanted star power in Brooks' projects, and Chase looked perfect on paper. He was a recognizable face, a proven draw, a sharp master of dry, razor-edged humor, shaped by Saturday Night Live and carried into hits like Fletch. On the surface, he matched Brooks' comedic DNA, but Brooks rejected the idea every single time. The reason was simple, though rarely spoken out loud. Chase broke Brooks' most sacred, unwritten rule. He wasn't a team player. From interviews, backstage stories, and industry chatter, the same pattern kept surfacing. Chase was fast, clever, and undeniably funny, but also capable of freezing a room with one remark or a single raised eyebrow. Yes, he could command laughter, but he could also disrupt harmony. Brooks once told a casting director, "He's not performing, he's waiting." Waiting for everyone else to finish so he could remind them he was the smartest person in the room. For Brooks, that mindset was fatal. Comedy, in Brooks' world, thrived on generosity, on performers who could land a punchline and then hand the rhythm off smoothly. He wanted collaborators who blended into the ensemble, not ones who seized it. Chevy didn't blend, he eclipsed. The closest Chase ever came to a Brooks film was Spaceballs. Studio executives suggested him for Dark Helmet. He had the voice, the dryness, the presence. Brooks barely paused. He chose Rick Moranis instead. "Rick knows when to step forward," Brooks later said. "More importantly, he knows when to step back." Chevy, in Brooks' view, only knew how to jump in. For Brooks, chemistry outweighed celebrity. Timing mattered, trust mattered, ego didn't, and ego often took the lead with Chase behind closed doors. Brooks once described Chase as someone who collided with comedy rather than moved with it, always smirking, always operating at a distance. Chase could charm an audience but refused to soften into the ensemble rhythm. Brooks believed comedy required sincerity, real commitment, even in the most absurd moments. Irony alone wasn't enough. They did meet once, a short, stiff encounter with no spark. Chase arrived with star swagger. Brooks showed up searching for that intangible click, the music of collaboration. It never surfaced. They parted politely. Brooks offered a faint, diplomatic smile and later summed it up simply, "Maybe in another universe." Chevy never crossed into Mel's. Years later, Mel Brooks would only speak around the issue, never straight through it. He'd muse about actors who were too aware of themselves to stay present, performers who never fully disappeared into the moment. Whenever a host tried to push for names, Brooks flashed a sly smile and pivoted fast, letting silence do the talking. One name, though, lived quietly in the background: Harvey Korman. Korman arrived with serious pedigree, shaped by years on The Carol Burnett Show, where he was often the gravitational center of the room. That world thrived on looseness, instinct, and improvisation that bent sketches mid-flight. That was Korman's natural habitat. But stepping onto a Mel Brooks set meant entering a totally different universe. Brooks didn't just direct, he composed. Every beat, every inflection, every micro pause was part of a carefully tuned machine. One unexpected improv could throw off the rhythm entirely. The tension peaked during high anxiety. Brooks cast Korman as Dr. Montague, the dignified yet unsettling overseer of the Psychoneurotic Institute for the very, very nervous. The role was central to the film's delicate absurdity, but Korman wanted to reinvent it. New quirks, sudden tangents, long improvised stretches. Brooks shut it down immediately. "We already wrote the funny part," he said. "We just need you to do it." Korman bristled, and from that moment on, tension hung in the air like static. Korman questioned blocking, paused to re-examine jokes, nudged lines as if reshaping them might improve the moment. Brooks, normally playful and flexible, started trimming conversations down to seconds. What should have felt like creative electricity turned into a careful diplomatic dance. Crew members later described the mood as silent warfare. No shouting, no dramatic blow-ups, just heavy glances, measured notes, and two strong wills refusing to bend. At one point, Brooks muttered to a producer, "Harvey wants to direct the movie. Unfortunately for him, I'm already doing that." By the final week, Brooks began delivering instructions through intermediaries. Korman spent breaks alone, no longer mixing with the cast. And yet, on screen, none of it showed. Korman was too gifted to let tension ruin the performance. Dr. Montague landed perfectly. The comedy stayed sharp, the tone flawless. Audiences laughed without ever sensing the strain behind the camera. But Brooks remembered. He remembered the cost. After high anxiety, Korman's name quietly disappeared from Brooks' casting lists, not out of bitterness, but exhaustion. As Brooks later explained, some actors bring joy to a set. Harvey brought brilliance, but the brilliance came with friction. There was no public fallout, no headlines, no burned bridges, just two professionals recognizing the limits of their partnership. Korman continued praising Brooks publicly for years. Brooks openly credited Korman for elevating some of his best work, but they never worked together again. For Brooks, rhythm was sacred, invisible but essential. He could handle big personalities, unpredictable energy, even ego. But once collaboration turned into a tug-of-war, once the dance became a duel, the joy vanished. And for Mel Brooks, joy wasn't optional. It was the lifeblood of comedy. By the time Mel Brooks entered the early stages of Dracula, Dead and Loving It, the vision was already locked in. This wasn't gothic romance. It wasn't moody shadows or tragic immortality. It was speed, chaos and non-stop visual madness, jokes flying like confetti, absurdity stacked on absurdity, a Dracula balanced between menace and full-blown ridiculousness. Then came Frank Langella, Broadway royalty, tall, elegant, magnetic, the man who had already hypnotized theater audiences as Dracula himself. He carried regal darkness wherever he went. On paper, he was Dracula, sophisticated, brooding, commanding, and ironically, that was exactly the problem. Brooks wasn't chasing tortured romance or centuries of sorrow carved into cheekbones. He wanted velocity. He wanted controlled chaos. A Dracula who could seduce a room with perfect diction, then accidentally launch himself into furniture seconds later. Langella arrived carrying Shakespearean thunder. Brooks needed slapstick lightning. From the first rehearsal, the tonal clash was impossible to miss. Sessions dragged. Brooks, usually a maestro of wild comedy, found himself tiptoeing around Langella's seriousness. Langella didn't volley jokes back. He didn't loosen up. Every line landed like a cathedral sermon, heavy, formal, unyielding. Brooks later joked privately that Langella wasn't playing Dracula. He was playing a martyr. Brooks tried gentle steering at first, soft adjustments, encouragement toward looseness, playful nudges into silliness. Langella listened politely, nodded with respect, and then returned to the same solemn performance unmoved. Cast members exchanged uncertain glances. Crew members whispered, half joking, half concerned, "Are we making a comedy or a grand opera?" The rhythm of the production began to wobble under the weight of Langella's seriousness. Then came the moment that sealed it. During a test read, Brooks handed Langella one of his signature setups, high drama designed to collapse into pure slapstick chaos. Langella paused, genuinely confused, and asked, "Do you want me to mock the text?" Brooks stared at him for a long moment, then replied quietly, "No, I want you to survive it." That was the answer. They were working in two different universes. By week's end, the split happened quietly. No blow-ups, no public drama, just a dignified exit. And into that space stepped Leslie Nielsen. Nielsen had a rare gift. He could stay completely serious while everything around him collapsed into madness. He wasn't gothic. He wasn't tragic. He was the perfect comedic anchor. Brooks needed a vampire who could slip on a rug and make it feel like destiny, and Nielsen delivered. So now the question is yours. What do you think about the actors Mel Brooks refused to work with? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Hollywood history, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more untold stories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.